So hello and welcome again to the Maths Guide. We're going to do a quick revision of what we did yesterday before moving on to another part. So yesterday we imagined that a person, John, had €30 and gained €5 every day for an unknown or variable number of days. We had a second person, Paul, who started with €100 and lost €3 every day for an unknown or variable number of days. What we did then was we checked one of those days. So we imagined that we let n equal to 2. So after 2 days, we wanted to know how much money John and how much money Paul had. From practicing this, we know that we're going to get 30 plus 5 multiplied by 2 is equal to 30 plus 10 is equal to €40 from John, and 100 minus 3 times 2 is equal to 100 less 6 is equal to €94 from Paul. When we combine the money together, that will be €134. What you did then was you practiced adding these two expressions together. So we had the expression 30 plus 5n and 100 minus 3n, and we added them together. To do that, we realized that John had a fixed amount, 30 to begin with, and Paul had a fixed amount, €100 to begin with. We noticed then that John had a variable amount of plus 5 every day, and Paul had a variable amount of less 3 every day. We knew that the fixed amount that they had added together to give 130, and that the variable amount that they had, plus 5 every day, less 3 every day, was equal to plus 2 overall every day. We combined those together, we had €130, the fixed amount, plus a variable amount, 2n. €2 every day. So you can see we're dealing with two parts here. We're dealing with a fixed or a constant part and a variable part, the part that changes all the time. Before we look at that, let's just check that our formula is correct. So we let n equal to 2, and this is a good thing to do all the time. When you get an answer to a question, check that it's correct with a number that you know. So we have the fixed part, €130 plus 2 multiply by n. So we said let n equal 2, so there's the 2. That's equal to 130 plus 4 is equal to €134. And that's the same €134 we got when we added their money together after 2 days, or when we used a formula and added a formula adding their amounts together and checking what we got after 2 days. So we can see that we can add money together, and what we generally do is we add together the fixed parts and we add together the variable parts. So you now know how to add two formulas together, two expressions together that have a constant part and a variable part. Now we're going to look at a slightly different question, an interesting question. We know that we have parts that are constant and parts that are variable. So in this question, I'm going to ask you a strange thing. I'm going to ask you to add an expression to this and to this, so that we only have a variable part here and you only have a constant part here when you add. So let's think, what do I have to add to this so that I only have a variable part? Well, I need to get rid of the plus 100, and we already know after lots of practice of 100 people getting on a bus, if 100 people got off the bus, I'd be back to where I started. So I'm going to need to take away 100 from this expression to remove that constant part. Let's have a look at this part. We want to get rid of the variable part. What do I do to this expression to remove the variable part? Well, I have minus 2r's. If I add 2r's, then you've got nothing. So if minus 2 people get off the bus every day and 2 people get on the bus every day, we end up back to 0. They cancel each other out. In effect, you end up with nothing there. So I'm going to have to subtract 100 from this expression to only have a variable part. I'm going to have to add 2r to this expression to only have a constant part. So I'm going to try and see what happens if I do that to both expressions. This might seem like a slightly strange thing to do, and I'm getting you to do lots of different things that might seem a little unusual. So in the previous question, what I did was I gave you an expression to add, and in this question I'm asking you to figure out what expression you need to add. So all the time I'm trying to get you to think about these things. I give you something to do, then you figure out how to do it. Once you know how to do it, then you have to apply it by figuring out in what way you're going to do this. So in this question, I'm asking you to add an expression to this and to this so that this one only ends up with a variable part and this one only ends up with a constant part. So I suggest the expression that we're going to add is going to be minus 100 to get rid of this constant part and plus 2r to get rid of this variable part in the second expression. So you already know how to add one expression to another. Let's add this to this and see what we get. Well, the 100 minus the 100 gives you nothing, 0. 6r and 2r gives you plus 8r. If you've got nothing added to something, there's no point even writing it down. Let's just say we've got 8r. What happens if we have minus 100 plus 2r added to this expression? What do we get? Well, the plus 2r and the minus 2r add together to give you nothing. Nobody gets on the bus every day at the end of the day, so we can ignore that part. The 140 minus 140, you already know how to add and subtract negative numbers. These are whole numbers, these are integers. 140 minus 100 gives me 40. So when I added this expression here to this and to this one became only variable and this one became only constant. Now this again seems like a strange thing to do, but I'm going to ask you to do this for a number of different questions. I'm going to give you an expression. I'm going to give you one expression like 100 plus 6r. I'm going to give you a second expression like 140 minus 2r. And I'm going to ask you to figure out what expression do you add to get rid of the constant part here and to get rid of the variable part here. And your answer will be in 3 parts. The first part will be your expression. We know that we had to add 2r. We knew that we had to take away 100 and add 2r to both of those expressions. So the first thing we write down is the expression we're adding. The second thing we write down is the result we get when we add these two together, which is going to be 8r. And the third thing we're going to write down is what we get when we add the expression onto this one, which is going to be the 140 minus 100 is 40. That sounds like quite a lot. Let's break it down again for you for 1 second. I'm going to give you 2 expressions. I'm going to ask you to think of an expression. It's your job to think of an expression. So again, this is applying knowledge. You know how to add an expression. Now you have to think, what expression do I add to end up with only a variable part and only a constant part? So this is the real the meat of mathematics, is you know how to do something, but then you figure out how to apply it, and that's what I'm asking you to do here. It's a strange sort of question, but quite straightforward. We want to get 2 parts, one to only have a variable part and one to only have a constant part. The variable part is the part with a variable, the thing that changes day by day. The constant part is just the number, like 140 or 100. It's something that doesn't change no matter what. So what you have to do is you're going to have to be given 2 expressions. Then you're going to figure out what expression to add so that the first expression becomes only variable and the second expression becomes only constant. And you give your answer as, the first thing is the expression you think that you need to add. the result, the variable part, and the result, just the constant part. So you know this is the bit that's going to just have the variable, like the letter in it, and you know this is the bit that's only going to be a number, and you separate your answer with commas. Okay, it's quite a strange thing to do, but again, like I said, once you know how to add an expression, it becomes your job to think out what expression that you need to add in a particular situation, and that's what I'm getting you to practice here. So there's going to be a whole lot of questions that you can practice on. Give them a go. If you're stuck, look at the examples that I give you for help and try and figure it out. You already know how to add an expression. This time you're going to be applying it. Now, I need you to realize the questions as you're beginning to do the revision. A lot of them seem very strange and a little bit complicated, and they're making your brain work very hard at the moment. So you might be struggling, but that's okay. You will get there, and once you practice this, it will become second nature to you. So the best of luck, and well done.